Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino. Here. Deputy Mayor Sims,
Here.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Here.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 at SEC. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act and recent regulations issued by the state of New Jersey, the following procedures will be in effect for public comment during this remote public meeting of the City Council. The public shall have an opportunity to comment during the designated public portion of this meeting. The time period for public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each speaker, and no person may address the council more than once, except for speaking during an advertised public hearing for an ordinance. At the time designated for public comment, the mayor or other presiding officer of the council will recognize one speaker at a time. That speaker must identify himself or herself by full name and whether or not he or she resides in Hackensack. No other member of the public is permitted to speak unless recognized by the presiding officer, and other remote attendees may be muted during that time if necessary to eliminate background noise. Meeting attendees shall exhibit appropriate demeanor during this meeting as required by section 37-15 of the city code. In the event any member of the public becomes disruptive at any time, that individual may be muted by the presiding officer and will receive a warning that continued disruption may result in being prevented from speaking or removed from the meeting entirely. The Zoom meeting platform has a texting function. However, this is to be used only for the purpose of advising the city's IT staff of any technical concerns or issues. The public may also submit written public comments to be audibly read into the record by the city clerk during the public portion of any remote public meeting of the City Council. Comments can be submitted by regular mail or by email to asab@hackensack.org. Comments received less than 5 hours before the start of a meeting may be carried to the next meeting. Any person who actually speaks during the public comment portion of a remote public meeting may not also have a comment read into the record. The city clerk will stop reading the written comment into the public record once it reaches the 3-minute limit. Duplicate written comments may be summarized and noted for the record in a consistent manner.
Okay. Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United-
United States of America,
to the republic,
to the public which it stands,
Yes.
one
One
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty
And
and justice
for all.
for all.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move right to the agenda, please. Ted?
First on the agenda is the snow removal ordinance 148-32. This is a change to the snow ordinance in case basically states deposit of snow or ice in roadway. In case such owners, tenants, or occupants shall remove snow or ice from their property, sidewalks, or driveway after the Public Works Department have plowed the roadway in front of their lands with snow plow, then the snow removed from such property, sidewalks, driveways shall not be deposited by such owners, tenants, or occupants upon any portion of the roadway from the snow and ice have been cleared as foresaid. If you go to the new ordinance, it says under no circumstances shall such snow or ice be deposited on the city right of way or the land between the sidewalk and the curb, even if it's not on the roadway itself. Snow deposited on private property abutting a public street shall not impede the ability for the operator of motor vehicles to clearly observe traffic on a public street when entering or exiting a driveway or other private road. For the purpose of this ordinance, any deposit of snow that exceeds 36 inches shall create a rebuttable presumption that the driver's view has been impeded in a violation of the ordinance. So basically, this ordinance says people can't pile up snow and exceed 3 feet because the people that are pulling into the driveway or crossing the street or walking on the sidewalk will not be seen, and it becomes a public safety issue. So this is going to clear this up. Obviously, the city has had a fairly contentious snow situation since we've had our big snowstorm which occurred, the last time we had it was over 2 decades ago. The city followed the code that's on file. I have to say it has not worked well, and the city will be having a special, I don't know whether it'll be at the COW meeting or a special meeting to get input from the residents, so this ordinance can be fixed going forward. I guess in one sense, we've had no snow for almost 2 years, and then all of a sudden we've had the snowstorm that hasn't come in 20 years. So we are trying to make improvements. It's flawed, it's not perfect, but we are trying to sort this out. And obviously, the amount of snow we got exceeded the amount of staff and equipment that we had to handle the storm. We did the best we could with what we had. Next is the amendment to the ordinance 170-12 commercial vehicles. This ordinance is to address vehicles operated is actively or directly engaged in a transaction or performance of a business with owners or occupants of the property located within the residential area, or the vehicles operated is actively and directly engaged with an installation, maintenance, or performance of public utility services in a residential area. In no event shall such parking be permitted for any reason permitted between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. following morning without authorized from the city manager or the police department or designee. So we're not trying to prevent people from using the equipment or vehicles that needs to make deliveries or something like a moving van. But however, we have people that bring vehicles in that are not in service. They're just parking it because it's inconvenient for them to find parking to park these large vehicles, and they leave them in residential zones, and that is not allowed. And this ordinance does not even cover commercial vehicles at private property driveways. This is just to fix the the street parking of oversized vehicle and commercial vehicles. Steve, do you have any comment on this at all?
Yeah. I mean, just to sort of, narrow it down, this ordinance addresses 2 issues. The first issue is that right now it is illegal for a commercial vehicle to be in a residential zone, really for any reason, right? There are legitimate reasons why a commercial vehicle, if you are, performing home maintenance, right? You're performing a delivery, public utility services. Right now, the ordinance has a blanket ban on that. So that created a problem where, the law doesn't reflect reality. So what this does is it says, okay, commercial vehicles in a residential zone, well, we understand there's some reasons why you might need to be there, but we're going to carefully limit it to you actually having a legitimate need to be there. The second part of this is we had no restrictions on commercial vehicles parking in the other zones of the city, business zones. We're not talking about industrial zones, but business zones, commercial zones, office zones, where, there's been some finding that commercial vehicles might be parking there with really no Hackensack business ongoing. Maybe they leave them overnight or, because they can't find parking elsewhere. So what this says is, for the first time, look, commercial vehicles, if you're going to be parking in these other zones, you need to have a legitimate reason for being there. So it's essentially making everything consistent, saying commercial vehicles should really only be in a residential area when they're doing business for a homeowner or something in that residential area. Commercial vehicles should only be allowed if they're there as part of the commercial business in town, or they're doing business with a commercial business in town. They shouldn't be there for any other reason. And look, I mean, the purpose of this is not to go out and any sort of ticket blitz. The purpose of this is to deal with known abusers of the system, right? So we've discussed implementation of this, that there will be warnings put out before, tickets get issued, an educational process to tell commercial vehicles, hey, you shouldn't be here. You don't really have a reason to be here. And so you're taking up parking, commercial vehicles, aren't necessarily attractive to, the community if they're, taking up a bunch of space on our street. So sort of dealing with those issues simultaneously going forward.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions of the mayor and council?
None.
Okay, next is the Johnson Park improvements. Johnson Park improvements obviously is the focus of one of our community parks that we're trying to make improvements. And obviously, we're looking at all of our parks, Johnson, Columbus, Stive, and Fashini. Johnson Park Sports Facility Improvement Phase 1A Contract 1 includes, but not limited to, installation of 1,563 linear feet of storm drainage piping ranging in sizes 15 to 24 inches, 1 reconstruction drainage structure, 12 new drainage structures, utility relocation, 410 linear feet of sanitary pipe for 24 in diameter, and 3 new sanitary sewer lines. This is the infrastructure that's going to be needed for the future development of Johnson Park. And without it, we can't move forward. So this is just phase 1A of that agreement to move that project forward. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Next is a discussion resolution on Juneteenth. This has become one of the signed laws of the land, and the resolution speaks to President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation declaring all persons held as slaves within any state designation part of the state, people thereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then therefore and forever free. So on Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day, has been celebrated by African American community since 1866, and since that time has become widely recognized as an important day of commemorization of honoring the history and contributions of African Americans. Because the city has signed agreements with its employees and there has been no negotiation, and obviously this was not in play when we had contract negotiations, the thought is making a recommendation for the city. Council believes it to be appropriate to declare June 18th to be a paid holiday for all of its employees so that they can celebrate Juneteenth with their families and reflect upon the sacrifices made by Americans, enslaved persons, and their descendants in continuous quest for human freedom and dignity. If approved by the mayor and council, the city would provide this benefit to its employees for 2021. Going forward, that would be a discussion item and a negotiation with future unions and employees for that benefit.
And if I may just add, so last year, the state legislature declared Juneteenth a state holiday for its employees. So the state will not be open, but the law did not mandate that Juneteenth be a holiday for municipalities. So it's up to the town each town to determine whether to treat Juneteenth as a holiday itself. Given this is the last meeting of Black History Month, there was an interest to the council in moving forward with declaring Juneteenth a holiday for this year, and then hopefully we can sit down with the unions and look to make that a permanent change, but at least get this on the books so that we know where we stand for this year, and to celebrate what is increasingly becoming, I think, quite a major holiday throughout the United States, not just in New Jersey. I think pretty close to most every state at this point has declared Juneteenth as a holiday in one way or the other. And New Jersey took that step last year, and this would be having the city council, state on its own that it believes Juneteenth is a holiday worth celebrating and commemorating.
Any
Okay.
questions? I'm sorry.
No questions here. Any questions from the council? Nope.
Okay, PSE&G LED lighting upgrade. There's been several discussions about lighting at intersections and that the LEDs have been added, which would replace the high pressure sodium replacements in 2020. And the immediate solution is PSE&G evaluated the current lighting on Prospect Ave and recommended one replacement of the current location light fixtures to a new higher wattage LED fixture. The cost associated with the upgrades includes a new fixture, the installation, and the new fixture, and the monthly usage charge, electricity and maintenance. For a total cost, it will cost $253.56. Obviously, the city has numerous locations and intersections. Lighting is an important component. When I go through the city manager's report, it's going to list I believe it was 132 pedestrians struck in the city of Hackensack in 2020. So lighting is an important component. Education's a component. Getting people to pick their head up and look without putting a sweatshirt on and earbuds on and just walking straight out in front of cars may be able to reduce that. But this is our first step of trying to reduce pedestrian motor vehicle accidents and also the safety of our pedestrian and bicycle residents. Any questions?
None here.
Okay. This would complete the city manager's report for the Cal meeting of February 23rd.
Thank you. Need a motion to open to the public, please?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Muted, Leo.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay. Anybody from the public who would like to speak, please come forward, full name to the clerk.
I am here.
Good evening.
All
1
right,
second, John, I want to talk first.
Sorry, yes. Before we open to the public, I apologize. Mr. Battaglia would like to say something.
I would like to start by saying that I am no way affiliated or part owner with GMA Capelli. They brought to my attention a proposal to renovate 2 high school soccer fields by converting them from grass to turf and potentially adding the lights. I put them in contact with the business administrator and the superintendent of the school, Mr. Sanchez. Any further discussions in regard to their proposal and what was included in the contract was strictly between GMA Capelli and the Board of Education. The City Council and I are working toward completing the sport dome to bring a safe indoor space for Hackensack kids to come to play in a turf field at no cost, rather than have to travel out of the city and pay in order to practice or play. My only objective for being in the council is to improve the city of Hackensack for all the residents that make this great city that I have lived in for 42 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Okay. Anybody from the public who would like to speak, please give your name to the clerk.
Yes, I
Richard
was-
Salkin, Hackensack. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, Juneteenth, great idea, but your ordinances define holidays. You shouldn't do this by resolution. You should amend your ordinances and do it properly. That's not brain surgery. Okay, I'm a little unclear. I guess I have to direct this to the city manager. The ordinance regarding the snow removal proposed, you said something about a further meeting to refine it, but there was an introduction of an ordinance tonight. Is that ordinance going forward tonight?
if the council approves, the ordinance is gonna go forward.
Okay, all right.
Maybe let me just finish by saying the part about the alternate snow plowing, moving your cars. Obviously, we need to get input from the residents and see if we can sort that phase of it. Piling up
Okay.
snow past 3 feet high, there's no issue there. It's a safety condition that needs to be addressed immediately.
I think there's a major issue, and I think you really ought not to introduce that ordinance. You're basically declaring war on your residents. You can't put snow in the right of way. Are you serious? What are you going to do? You know, Ted, I've lived through a lot of big storms in Hackensack. I used to live in a house. I used to live in a house with a 145-foot driveway. And when you get down to a storm, say a foot of wet snow, you're going to have the residents, I'd say at the apron, pick it up and bring it back on their lawn because they can't put it in the right of way between the street and the sidewalk. That's nuts. Unless you're going to establish a fund to fund families when the old man dies of a heart attack. It's a real bad idea. I know the DPW, and you know, I lived through it as well, doesn't like it when people put it in the street. I don't blame them, and it should be enforced. You got to be careful. But you're overreaching. You're making it impossible. It's a bad idea. I urge you not to declare war on the residents. Don't introduce this tonight. Bad idea. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person from the public, please. Give your name to the
Yes.
clerk.
Good evening. Annette Jankowski. I'm a Prospect Avenue resident in Hackensack, and a member of the Hackensack Condo Co-op Board. I would like to thank the council for passing Resolution 64-21 at the last meeting. I apologize, I wasn't able to speak at that meeting. That was appointing a new member to our board, Darlene Williams. So we thank you for approving her application. And we know that she'll be she'll be an excellent addition to our board. And the second thing, I would like to just thank you also for addressing the dim lighting issue with public service. As you know, the Condo Advisory Board has been working on that for over a year. We've already had one pedestrian fatality and one pedestrian hit and run. So we thank you for paying attention to that. And it's a safety issue and we're all working together on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jankowski. Next person in the public, please.
Yes, hi, this is Bridget Rucker speaking, resident of Hackensack. I'm going to speak on the resolution of Juneteenth. Ted, thank you for doing your research because that is very important. But we celebrate this holiday because it's an African-American holiday. And that's because of the enslaved were freed, where America celebrates the 4th of July. So if you're going to have this holiday here at this time, this should be geared towards African Americans, not a city of people because they're city workers. If you want to give them that holiday off as paid, absolutely, I fully agree. So, but you have no shame in using this resolution of a holiday. You know, you knew nothing about it before until 45 states came under and started to celebrate this holiday. So you'll use this before your election campaign to bamboozle and hoodwink African Americans, the community, into votes. Why wasn't this done? 7 years you were in office. So my thing is here, I don't think, and I agree with Mr. Sulkin about this holiday. If you're giving it to African Americans because they were enslaved, not everybody else. Okay, so just think about it because what he said was absolutely true. It's not a holiday for everybody. It's a holiday for African Americans.
Thank you. Next person from the public, please. Give your name to the clerk. Hearing no members from the public, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, we will see everybody at 7 o'clock.
Sabrosito.
Should we close this meeting now, or do you want to wait till the other meeting?
No, you can close this one now.
So let's
And
close.
before we, and by the way, before we go, just to put on the record, we did have a closed session before this meeting. The only litigation we talked about is an ongoing tax appeal case involving 3 University Plaza, but I did want to put that on the record before I forget. I'm
Okay,
going to be
thank you.
better at remembering that.
Steve, do you want to do that again before the next meeting and we'll close the executive session at that point? Or do you want him to close it now?
You can close it now. I mean, I think it's
Okay.
it's been announced in public what the litigation that was discussed, and we usually do that during the CAL.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, the mayor, we need to close the
Okay.
executive session first
please.
and then closed. I mean, and then the cow.
Motion to close the executive session, please.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unopposed? Motion to close the council of the whole?
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? See everybody at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay.